Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda and in today's video we are going to be doing a pumpkin set of press-on nails. I'm not quite ready for Halloween, but I definitely wanted to get a pumpkin design out there, so I really hope you all enjoy watching. Now starting off, I'm going to be using RB07. I think I mentioned in last week's video that I always like to use one of the rubber color bases over my press-on nails. I just find it adds an additional layer of strength. Now it's not necessary when you're working on press-on nails, you can come straight in with your color if you prefer, but I don't know, I quite like the way it feels having that extra layer of strength. So I'm going to do 2 coats of RB07 for this nail because I'm using 1 coat as my base coat and then the second coat as my color, because RB07 is an absolutely beautiful color. It's really nice, kind of like a dark dusky pink shade with those beautiful shimmers in there. Now of course we've got to include some of the new colors from the Indian summer collection, and I think Harvest Festival makes a really beautiful pumpkin kind of shade. Obviously it's a little bit darker than your classic pumpkin orange, but it works really well in my opinion. So I'm going to pop some of that down on my palette. These palettes are from Kiki London as well, and then I'm going to take my strap liner brush, run it through that gel polish, kind of running my brush through so that those bristles get a nice distribution of the gel polish. And then on this now we're just going to do a cut off in the cuticle area and then very similar up in the tip area. I quite like this look when I'm adding in a nail art on the nail, so we're going to be adding some pumpkin water decals on this, but I kind of like how it adds a splash of colour around your water decals. So we're going to pop that down. I'm only going to do 1 coat of this because this colour is super pigmented, so if you're using it for nail art, in my opinion, you don't need 2 coats. And then I have these beautiful sunflower pumpkin water decals. I absolutely love these, and I did only get to use them in 1 set last year, so I had to break them out early this year because I think they are super cute. I love the way that they have more of an autumn feel to them compared to Halloween, because a lot of the time when you see pumpkin nail art, it's very Halloween orientated, so I really love that these are more to the autumn side, and I just think they look super pretty as well. So to apply my water decals, I'm going to use my stamper and the Kiki London silicone tool. I've cut these images out as close to the image as possible, so then that way you get rid of a lot of the excess backing sheet. Then I've placed that face down onto a jelly style stamper, and I'm just using my round nail art brush to dampen the backing paper. You want to press this down onto your stamper so it's securely stuck in place, and then once that water has settled into the backing paper, it easily slides off, and then you're able to look through your stamper and literally stamp down your water decal. I find this application one of the easiest ways anyway to apply your water decals. Then I always like to come over with my silicone tool and really give it a good rub over the decal to get out any creases. You want to be quite gentle that you don't tear your water decal, but you can apply a decent amount of pressure to ease out any of those creases. And when you're applying them over your cured gel polish where the inhibition layer is tacky, I find it really helps grab hold of your water decals and secure them down. So we're going to do the same again because I want some pumpkins up in the top of the nail and then down in the bottom as well. Now of course it is more advisable to pop your water decals over a white or a cream base, which we are going to do on another nail, but I really love how subtle they look over this shimmery pink base, and they do pop a little bit more once we have top coated. Here I'm just using my round nail art brush with a little bit of acetone on it to melt any of the water decal that's hanging over the edge of the nail. It was a little too less to cut, so I just used some acetone just to melt away that excess. This way we know that we're going to be able to securely seal that in when it comes to top coating. On to the next now, I'm just going to start off by doing 1 coat of my RB07. We're just predominantly using this for a base layer here because we are going to be doing a glitter ombre, but I wanted to make sure I had 1 coat down as my base so that my entire tip was nice and strong, because I've sized these out for my own nails. I'm going to be wearing these myself, and I do personally need that little bit of extra strength. So once we've cured that first coat on, the second coat I'm only going to take RB07 to roughly 3/4 of the way down the nail, just brushing it back a little bit just because I tend to pull too much away from the cuticle area. And then for our glitter fade, we are going to be using the gorgeous Amber Flame. Now this colour is one of my favourite glitter gel polishes for the autumn season. It's got a really pretty gold tone to it, but then it's got that ambery burnt orange, kind of like a jelly transparent gel that the glitter is sitting in, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to take my ombre brush, and it's effortless to blend two glittery colours together. So obviously our RB07 has that pink silvery shimmer to it, so it blends absolutely effortlessly with the Amber Flame. And I did only need to do one coat of the Amber Flame as well, because it's a very highly packed full of glitter. I can't get the words out there. It's jam-packed full of glitter, so one coat was sufficient. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and matte top coat this now, because I want to draw some swirls over the top of it, and I always find that it's a lot easier to hand paint over a matte surface because it stops your colour bleeding and you get a nice sharp line, and it's also better for filming as well, as there's no reflection. But then when I did the matte top coat over this now, I absolutely loved how beautiful these shimmers looked. So I ended up deciding to keep this set of nails matte, and I'm so glad that I did. But let me know in the comments below. I know it's quite a debate when it comes to glitter, whether it should be matte or glossy. Personally, I absolutely love glossy glitters, but do let me know what you think in the comments below. So back to my palette, I've added a little bit of Golden Hour, which is one of the new shades as well from the Indian Summer collection. And then I've added Vanilla Latte, which is from last year's autumn collection, but I have to say it's one of my go-to colors. I use this one so much. I think it's a beautiful base for nail art, and I'm going to be using it on the little finger for a base for my water decals. So I wanted to add it in on my swirls as well, just to help bring this set together and make everything look cohesive across the 5 nails. But talking of this now, we're just going to add on some simple swirls going down the nail. So I always just do my first swirl and get it down on the nail. I don't stress too much about getting it neat or perfect, because you can come in and perfect it. Then I flash cure that for 10 seconds, clean off my brush, and we're going to come in with a second colour. And the second colour is a little bit more tricky because you're going to follow the curve of your first nail. Now, because you've flash cured that, because you've flash cured the first colour, completely lost my train of thought there. Because you flash cured that first colour, you can come over the edge of it, so it doesn't matter if you don't get your second color perfect, because you will be able to clean up with a little bit of alcohol without removing the first color that you did. So always utilize that 10-second flash cure on your lamp if you've got the Kiki London lamp when you're doing any kind of hand painting. Once again, I then did flash cure the Golden Hour, and we're going to come in with Vanilla Latte, which I'm actually going to do on the other side of Harvest Festival, just so we could get a longer swirl in there. Then what I'm going to do, because we have only been flash curing these colours for 10 seconds, I'm then going to put this now into my lamp for a full 30-second cure, just to make sure that all of those gel polishes are fully cured. I think I did touch up off camera Vanilla Latte with a little bit of a second coat, just so it looked a little bit more pigmented, because it is a lighter shade compared to the other two, and I didn't want it to look washed out. Then on to the next nail, I'm coming in again doing my base coat of RB07 to the entire nail. And again on this nail we're going to be doing an ombre, but I wanted that first coat down of my base coat, so I'm going to pop that into cure for 30 seconds. Then we're going to add our second coat, but this time we're only going to take this roughly halfway down the nail, making sure to get a nice thin coverage, because I had a feeling that I was going to need to do this ombre in 2 coats, which I did end up doing, just because the Golden Hour is so very pigmented. It was a little bit harder to blend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on Golden Hour, and then I'm going to take my ombre brush, start blending these 2 colors together where they meet, trying to get rid of that harsh line where the nude meets the yellow. Now, because the RB07 has got that shimmer in it, it does make it a lot more of an easier color to blend with. Anything with a glitter or shimmer in it does, but like I said, Golden Hour is just so highly pigmented. I just wasn't getting a nice neat blend in one coat, which is pretty standard for any kind of ombre. So I'm going to come in, pop that into cure, And then we're just going to do a second coat. So keeping it nice and thin because I don't want this nail to end up too bulky. So just a thin layer down of RB07, taking it ever so slightly over that blend because it's going to help make it look a lot more subtle, and it's going to give like a nice fade to the nail. Then when I'm coming in with a golden hour, I'm not taking it as far down as what I did on the previous nail, so you can kind of see that fade underneath still. Then we're going to blend those two colors together, and this helped create a really nice transition between the two colors. I absolutely loved how this now ended up looking in the end. RB07 is one of my go-tos now from now on for any kind of ombre with a nude that's a little bit more trickier, because you can see it just made it a lot easier. Then over this now, I did want to add on a little bit of stamping, so I'm going to take this pumpkin image here, which is 2 layers, and I had a stamping polish that was similar as I could get it to the Harvest Festival because I wanted the nails to look cohesive. So we're going to stamp down the first layer and then stamp down the second layer. So when it comes to stamping, you want to work nice and quickly. So what I like to do, we're going to start off by cleaning off the plate with some acetone. Then I'm going to take a generous amount of stamping polish and apply that to the image. You're going to take your scraper and scrape off any excess. Quick flick of the wrist to pick up your image on to your stamper. I then like to use a lint roller just to clean off any excess images that I've picked up. Then we're just going to take a few seconds to line that up and then press down. On to our fourth now in the design, it's going to be my little finger. So on this now, instead of using RB07 for my base, I'm going to use RB01, which is a white rubber base coat, just because I'm not going to be seeing the RB07 in this now. So there's no point using a glitter because you're not going to see it, because we're coming over with Vanilla Latte. And RB01 is a brilliant base coat, especially when you're using lighter shades, because it really helps bring their pigmentation through. Vanilla Latte is quite a pigmented color anyway, but because it's a soft cream, having that white base under there just brought that pigmentation through even more. So I'm going to do a 1 coat of Vanilla Latte, pop that in to cure for 30 seconds, and then we're going to come in and do our second coat, keeping your gel polish coats nice and thin because you don't want to add any unnecessary bulk to the nail. And all of the Kiki colors are very highly pigmented, so you don't need to apply them too thickly. 2 thin coats work sufficiently. Curing each coat in my LED lamp for 30 seconds. And then on this now, we're keeping it simple. We're just going to add on 1 of those little sunflower pumpkin decals, because I wanted to show you guys they do pop a little bit more over a lighter color base, but you don't necessarily have to use a white base. And Vanilla Latte, like I said before, is one of my go-to colors for a nude. It's sort of a light nude shade for a base for my water decals. So we've applied that exactly the same as before, just taking a few seconds, and you can see the colors really come through from the water decal where you've got it over that lighter base. On the next now, I have already done my 2 coats of RB07, so similar to what we did on the previous nails, but on this now, this is my thumbnail, and I always like to do a French on my thumbnail for some reason. I just quite like how it looks, and I never do a full French set. So if I'm doing any kind of nail art, I like to add a French in somewhere. So we're going to take the French brush, load it up with our gel polish, and I like to pretty much just place it flat down on the nail to get my smile line in place, and then using that longer part of the brush, I bring the wings down, and I wanted this one to be quite deep. Then I'll just go over a few times, trying to perfect up the sides so that they are cohesive, both sides look as matchy as possible. Then I'm going to take my round nail art brush with just a little bit of alcohol on it and just use this to clean up any areas that are a little bit uneven or a little bit jaggedy, just to make them look nice and crisp. Now this is going to be done in 2 coats, but I try to get my first coat as neat as possible, because when you come over with your second coat, you obviously can't fix up the first coat. So I like to spend a little bit more time on my first coat, so I'm coming back in just to perfect that, but I'm not worrying about the coverage of the gel polish on that first coat. Then on the second coat, same again, loading up your French brush with kind of the same amount of gel polish you would use if you was using your bottle brush. And then I like to hold it flat up against the nail, line it up to where I want that smile line to be, and then pull down nice and evenly so you're getting an even coat. And then again, using that longer part of the brush to pull it down to get the wings of your smile line. Depending on how deep you're doing your smile line, you'll have to adjust this. A lot of the time you can do a lot more natural, easier looks with your French brush if you're not doing such elongated or long deep smile lines. And then I always do like to come in with my round nail art brush just to clean up, just to get that nice crisp edge. And then I'll come back in with my French brush and just touch up here and there, because I struggle with French, I'm not going to lie. It's one of those designs I do find a little bit harder, so I do end up faffing about with it probably a little bit more than what's needed. Then once you have done that second coat, you're going to pop that in to cure, and once again we're going to add on one of those sunflower pumpkins, because this is another one of my favorite things to do with a French, is to add water decals. And if I've got a design like this where you've got quite a dark nude nail bed area, I'll just add my water decal over the tip. But it does also look really nice as well if you add it where the smile line meets, and then that also will disguise any imperfections you've got in your French as well. But on this now, we're just going to add it on to the very tip of the nail, because I loved how it looked over the French. Then we're just going to trim off the excess with some scissors. You always want to make sure that you've got your decals as flush to that edge as possible. So I've trimmed off with some scissors, but then I've come back in with some acetone just to clean up the edges. Then, like I said, I decided we were going to do this entire set matte. So I'm going to take the Kiki London No White matte top coat, and I'm just going to apply a layer of this to all of the nails. Now, a lot of the time when I'm applying water decals, I would recommend using the rubber top coat to seal them in, just because I find this helps them last without any chipping issues. But I really want this set to be matte, and I didn't want to add any additional bulk to the nail by doing 2 coats of top coat. So what I'm doing is I'm just floating that top coat on rather than brushing it on. So I'm taking a small amount on my brush and just floating it over the top. This is just going to help make sure that it gets around all of those edges of the water decal and fully seals it in, especially if you've got your water decals on the very tip edge of the nail like we do on the French as well. You want to make sure that you are capping or encapsulating all the way around that water decal. And then once we have top coated all of these nails, I'm going to pop them in to cure for a final 30 seconds. If you are using a UV lamp, you will need to adjust your cure times, usually to 1 to 2 minutes, but I would highly recommend getting the Kiki London Deluxe lamp if you haven't already. It's amazing. And then this is what the finished result looked like. I absolutely love them, and when I put them on, I would definitely get some pictures to add to my Instagram because I think they are super cute. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I really hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment below, and hit that subscription button if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.